Hello, welcome to another lesson in peacemaking and conflict resolution. I'm your instructor, Kenneth Acha. We're going to be talking today about how we respond to conflict. An important part of this discussion is going to be the nature versus nurture debate and the influence that the nature and nurture arguments have on how we behave, on how humans develop, because that is integrally connected to how we perceive and respond to conflict. Again, one of the oldest debates in psychology and biology is what we call the nature and nurture debate. This debate focuses on the relative contributions of genetic inheritance and environmental factors to how humans develop and how humans behave. Though the debate has died down for the most part, and most experts have now reached a consensus on many of the issues of the debate, the principle of the debate, the principles behind the concept of nature and nurture are still very crucial and still very important to our understanding of human development and human behavior, and of course, to our understanding of how humans respond to conflict, because that's a behavior. Questions such as, is human behavior influenced more by genetics or by environmental factors? Is our personality the result of traits we inherited from our parents? Or has it been shaped more by our environment and by our life experiences and by our education? These things are part of the nature versus nurture debate. Because of this debate, we have come to a situation where people are grouped into two camps. We have nativist people such as philosophers Plato and Descartes. They are called nativists, rather not activists, nativists, because they believed that all or most of human development and human behavior was controlled by inborn, innate influences. They believe that all this happened on its own regardless of any environmental influences. Other groups, other people were called empiricists, and in that group you see thinkers like John Locke. John Locke was called an empiricist because he believed in something called a tabula rasa. And this basically suggested that the human mind comes as a blank slate, and we basically have to write on that blank slate as we go through life. Locke believed that all or most of what we become, our development and our behavior, is determined by our experience alone. So we see these two groups, nativists and empiricists, and this argument is something that is one of the longest running arguments we have in psychology and biology. As I said, again, it's good that we have a consensus, but we still have to look at things in psychology and biology and in science in general and think, what is the contribution of nature, our genes, our environment, our inherited part, and what's the contribution of our nurture, that's our environment, our experiences, our education? For example, we look at something like life expectancy. How much of it is contributed by our genes that we inherited from our parents, and how much of it is because of the lifestyle, because of the environment, because of the kind of food we eat, because of the way we live? How much of it? How about height? How much of it is genetic, and how much of it is from our environment? How about a person who has tremendous academic success? Is it due to nurture or nature? How about someone who abuses their children and and his wife? Is that because of genes inherited, or is it because of a learned behavior? How about alcohol abuse? How about violent behavior in sociopaths? How about homosexuality and intelligence? For most of these, experts now agree, there's a consensus, that both nature and nurture play a part. Even our personality, there is a genetic component, even though it's very complicated to decipher, but there is a genetic component to it. And we see this nature and nurture contributing to who we become. Even though the debate is still raging today on the issue of homosexuality and to some degree intelligence, many people who support homosexuality would like to say that all of the homosexual tendency and the behavior is genetic, that there's no environmental contribution to it. And those who don't agree with the homosexual lifestyle would like to say that everything is environmental, and there's still that debate going on. However, there's some things that we do see in life that are mainly affected by our genes. For example, the way we look. By that I mean our skin color. Whether you are black or you are white is determined by your genes wholly. Your eye color, your hair color, some genetic diseases like hemophilia, they are determined mostly by your genes. But there are other things that we see the environment becoming very, very important, like how a person behaves can be tied to influences such as parenting styles and learned experiences throughout the person's life. For example, children being taught to say thank you through reinforcements, and other children learning by observing aggressive behavior in elder people around them to become violent. Let's go into it and look at this a little bit more. And again, we're looking at this from the point of view of how nature versus nurture affects the way we perceive and the way we respond to conflict. Okay, we talked about nature, and that nature is biology and genes. That's our DNA. And something that is important to note is that every conflict is a stress. Conflict is not only perceived as a stressor, but conflict is a stress. So we associate it in our bodies with that. And so we respond. We respond just the same way that we respond to other stresses by triggering the fight or flight response. In some places, this is called the fight or flight or freeze response. And this response is a physiological reaction that occurs in humans. It occurs in animals, really. It's an animal response, not just in humans. It occurs in animals or in humans in response to a perceived harmful event, such as an attack or a threat to survival. And we respond with this, and this causes the triggering of the sympathetic nervous system, the release of hormones like epinephrine and norepinephrine, also called adrenaline and noradrenaline, and cortisol and other hormones that are secreted to help us improve our survival. These are triggered in a stressful situation, and conflict is a stress. So we also see that contributing to the nature component, we see that we have different personalities. These different personalities that we have influence the way we perceive and respond to conflict. Again, like I said earlier, that this is very animalistic. It's instinctive. It's something. The way we tend to respond to conflict by flight, by fighting, and we're gonna see next by cooperating if it improves our survival chances. that this is something that we do without thinking. It is done. It's been shown to be done even by organisms as small as yeast. On the nurture side of things, we see that our environmental contribution, our experiences, our education will also affect the way we respond to conflict. And again, the response is that we learn how to, through nurture, the same responses: fight, flight, cooperate. We see that those are enforced through our environment and our experiences in life. And when I talk about experiences in life, I'm thinking about family experiences growing up, painful situations that we've gone through, spiritual formation that we've taken, moral lessons that we've taken, education that we've had. Difficult situations especially affect the way we turn out to become, because they have such a great impact on our outlook and affects us deeply.